The webinar is about creating your 2025 calendar and basically planning. So every single year that 2025, 3, 4, whatever year is here, I always do a new calendar, a new content journal, a new everything, because I think it's really important to know how to organize and plan your year when it's coming. But I think a lot of people don't really know how to do that. So I wanted this to be really a helpful thing for everybody. So let's get started. In creating a business, we have 4 things, and this is how I view it. We have the seed, the birth of it, the formula, and the support. So what I mean by seed is who you are, what you're doing, where you're doing it, and why you're doing it. I don't think that every single person is meant to be a doctor. I don't think every single person is meant to be an engineer. And I think that if somebody who's meant to be an engineer that has a really amazing way of thinking about shapes, has an amazing way of processing math and problems and putting things together, I don't think that they would thrive really well, let's say, as a farmer. I don't think that that vessel would be aligned with why it's created. So I think it's really important to, when you're choosing a career, whether it's tattooing, whether it's clothes designing, whatever it is that you want to do, you have to ask yourself, is that really why you're born, what you're born to do? I don't think any of us are really born to work. I think we're born to, a lot of us are moms or sisters, or you have different roles in life. So I think it's really important, though, before starting a business, to know the seed of who you are, what you're doing it, and why you're doing it. I think in the beginning, that's like the very root of it before we start planning our calendars, before we start prioritizing things. Because I think if you get that part wrong, or if you plant the seed in the wrong soil, it's not going to grow. If you've ever bought a home plant, you already know not all plants are going to survive. So the same thing, not all businesses are going to survive. If you put a desert plant in the freezing cold, it's going to die. Same thing with business. You're going to have to put things in the right alignment so that you're actually progressing. Second thing is birth, and I'm always about energy. I think everything is a yin yang energy. So in business, in order to have a whole, there's a female energy and a male energy. And I think that everything starts with the female energy. We are the creators. Everything gets born with that female energy. We bring life, we bring creativity, we bring all the things to actual physical existence. So same thing with the business. What I mean by female energy is the desire, setting the tone of what you're making people feel, alignment, and purpose. Those things are very nurturing, and those things make you feel soft and connected. So those are the yin energy of your business. I think there are some entrepreneurs that I follow that have this part figured out. And a lot of them work with their partner. I work with my husband. I just want to be super transparent. He does the third part. If you're looking at the presentation, that part, he's in charge of it. And not because he's a guy, but a part of it is because this part comes natural to him, and number 2 comes natural to me. I've seen other permanent makeup artists that are really big as well, and I've noticed that in their business where they're working with their husband. I've also, not only in permanent makeup, I've noticed it in multiple different industries where the male and the female are working together and they're completing what's naturally working for them. So if you're starting to become a tattoo artist and this is your thing, that's cool. But if you can get your partner to like support you in some way with that, it's going to multiply. It's going to grow faster. So 3 is formulas. So problem solving, selling, numbers, math, analytics, taxes, Excel sheets, all that type of stuff. So it's not really stuff that is divine and creative and inspiring. It's stuff that is concrete. Numbers don't lie. Your business is doing bad because XYZ, you're going to fail. Because at the end of the day, it has to add up. If you're manifesting and you have your dream board, then this and that, but your pricing is wrong and you're spending too much and you're making not enough and you're losing money, that's not really what a business is supposed to do. So at the end of the day, even if you have the seed and the yin energy, if you don't have the concrete discipline and the perfect numbers, it's not going to work out. And the last one is number 4. Anybody that I've seen successful has not done it alone. You cannot do it alone. I didn't do it alone. I'd never met anyone who started a business all by themselves. And even if they started all by themselves, they were probably getting support from, if you're a mother, you probably have a babysitter, or you need help with nobody has it all figured out. The more support you can get, the better, I think. Even I like to compare this with plants too. A piece of plant, it's not going to sprout in soil that doesn't have any minerals in it. We need an environment where we're getting support, we're getting nourishment from something. All right. So creating a business, 1, 2, 3, 4, we went over that. This is all going to work to create that calendar, to create your priorities, because I think I want to preface actually planning out your year with what the heck we're actually planning out. I think it's a terrible idea not to have the philosophies down and the understanding of what we're doing down before planning it. So I don't want to tell you to plan, let's get out our calendars, let's make a mood board. But I want to make sure that we're really, really intentional about what we're doing and why we're doing it. So the seed is your work or your value. So when you're planting a business, you have to really look at what you're doing. So in terms of tattooing, is your skill good enough? So the better your skill is, the better you're able to give the client, the more value you're going to be providing. So ultimately, for example, and I'll use this as an example. There's some people that are so interested in the monetary part of what it is that we're doing that they want to offer workshops. They want to offer online classes. They want to offer all this stuff because they know this stuff makes money, but their work sucks. So the seed sucks. So if the seed is rotten, everything else that you're going to produce out of it is going to be rotten as well. So why don't we work on the seed first? Let's not jump, because you can't really fake that. We have to make sure that our work is up to par. And then what else I mean by seed is your actual body, like your actual vessel. You have to be healthy enough to work, and you have to know what you can handle at your capacity. For example, right now, I don't have any children, so I can handle a whole ton of work. I can work from morning and night without any interruptions. But let's say I consider becoming a mom, and let's say one day I have 3 kids. I don't think that I'm going to be able to handle the amount of work that I put into my business now. Not saying that I won't maybe get help to help me handle it, but I'm going to be honest about what my body can handle right now. So your work and your vessel. And then the last thing is philosophy. And basically that's your thinking habits, your patterns in life. I wrote down advancing creativity and basically always trying to increase your brain synapses, which just means you're consuming enough information to where you're problem solving a lot faster and a lot more creatively. So that's the seed. The birth. So when you're trying to birth a business, you have to be delusional. This is the part where I feel like a lot of people struggle, where it's like some people are really good at being delusional, coming up with ideas and saying, you know what, I can freaking do this. And then other people are really good at saying, I have a product, I have a demand, I'm going to market it, I'm going to do the really tangible side of it. So I find that women are typically the ones with saying, I want to be a millionaire by 30, I want a big house. They're the ones that are trying to speak things into existence. Whereas dudes will go and put in hours at their job and say, if I work 40 hours at this rate, I'm going to bring home this much money. And then you go home and chill and they don't think about it much more. I think the girls are the ones that are, no, we can push it more. We could do this. We could do that. So balancing birthing the business with actually executing the business is the whole yin yang balance that's going to actually give you the business of your dreams, right? So what I mean by birth after seed is energy, manifesting, dreaming, praying, aligning, and then what do I say? Creativity and experimentation. So the thing is, you have to try out a bunch of things to actually know what you're good at. So if you did take any of our permanent makeup workshops or tattoo workshops, that's awesome. But what if you're an amazing cook, right? How do you know that you don't have a career somewhere in sewing or fashion designing or whatever? So what I did when I was younger, I literally tried everything. So you have to try everything in order to give all your energy to the thing that you're like, oh my God, this is so natural for me. For me, it's drawing. It's just so natural. I do it with such ease. So I'm a really awesome cook, but I don't think I could do it for a living. But the thing is with this part is you have to try out a bunch of stuff before you actually find out what you're so good at. And then the formula. This is the part that I suck at. But this is the part that really sets the Beauty Institute apart. My business and the M33 business apart from a lot of other competitors. And this is the reason why we continue to survive. Because honestly, this part I get a lot of help with from my husband, and he helps manage the marketing, the tracking, the math, the pricing. Are we doing stuff? So this part is math. This is what you're selling add up to your goals. So there's so many girls that I talk to and they're like, I want to make $1 million this year. And I'm like, okay, cool. How are we going to do it? And it's like, oh, well, I'm going to be doing eyebrows at, say $750 per set. Okay. How many sets can you do a year? And then we can calculate how much that is. But typically it can't have a goal here. But then when we talk about what you're selling, you're like, I can only do literally this much. Then we're like, okay, good that you have this goal, but let's try to make some adjustments to actually get you to that goal. So that's the part that I feel like takes a lot of discipline. It takes a lot of calculation, takes a lot of measurements and adjustments and tracking. So the last thing is support. And I think it's okay to need help. I think that 2025 coming up is going to be the year that you're going to be seeing a lot of communities. You're going to be seeing a lot of people offering support groups. You're going to be seeing a lot of workshops and people coming together, because I think that's what's missing for a lot of people. So the other thing is, if you plant a seed in the wrong environment where it doesn't have water, it doesn't have sunlight, it doesn't have support it needs, it's going to die. Same thing with your business. If you're planting a business without giving it the proper hours and the proper attention, and you have backup helping you when you need, you go to work, but your dog's at home or something, you're going to need help. And you need to find your group of people, whether it's your mom, your husband, whatever. It's a group effort. Nobody ever raised anything perfect on their own. And if they did do it, it probably took so much effort. So try to find some sort of communal support group where you're all exchanging some sort of support towards each other. And if you have that, you God for it, because it's so important. Okay. This is a part where it gets really fun for me, which is like, this is the part where I feel like we can take our goals and break them down. So if you're looking at my screen, this is the part that's going to help you set up your calendar for 2025. And these are questions that we can all ask ourselves. And if you're joining, whether you're on Instagram or you're in the live stream, these are questions I want you to ask yourself. So the first question is, because this is a business and what businesses do is generate income, there is no other reason we need to be in business than to make money. If you want to make people happy, open a charity. If you want to be in business, you're going to need to generate cash flow. You're going to need to generate, revenue and profit. So that's the goal of a business. So you have to ask yourself, how much do you need to make to survive? And how much do you actually like to make? So put yourself two different figures. The first question is, how much do you need to earn this year? So how much do you need to earn to cover your expenses and still be able to eat? And is a number that is the minimum to pay your rent, have clothes on your back, eat. Like, how much do you need? And then the second question is, how much do you want? So want is basically like, want extra income for vacations, or you want extra income to buy, Chanel bag or whatever you want. So knowing those two figures is going to help you answer the questions after, which is like, how are you planning on doing that? So what are you selling? The second question asks you, what are we doing? Are we trading our time, which is like, are we exchanging our service? Like I blocking out my time, giving somebody 2 hours to either tattoo them, do their eyebrows, maybe give a business consultation. So what am I selling? And is it costing me my time? That's a really good question to answer. And if you guys do this exercise with me and you answer these questions, we only answered 2 so far. By the end of it, we are able to create our calendar together. And then the third question is, how many hours do you work? So what are we offering? What are we selling? And how many hours are we working? So if we're doing tattoos, are we tattooing all week, 7 days a week? And then it says, are you selling your time or more? So are we selling products? Are we selling something that we don't have to be there for? Do you have a condo that you're renting out? You know, are you earning dividends on some sort of stock? Like, or are you generating income? You know, then the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The fifth question is, what are the prices and do they make sense at your skill level? So I think this question kind of asks you, what are you charging? So this goes about the value that you're giving. So with tattooing, let's say if you're charging $200 an hour and there's a guy across the street also charging $200 an hour, but let's say he's way better than you. Well, most likely the customer is going to choose him. So if you're not as good as him, maybe you'll get more customers if you price yourself a little bit lower. It's just going to make sense for the customer because you have to put yourself in the customer's shoes. If everybody at $200 an hour is excellent and you're just starting off, you might want to give them some sort of advantage for choosing you. And in a marketing sense, you're going to have to tell them why to choose you and what that advantage is. So you have to communicate that part. Then once you figure out your prices, and I think the best way to know if that they're making sense is if they're selling. If you're slow and it's not working, then maybe it doesn't make sense. And then what is the mathematical equation that will get you to your goal? And the way to calculate that basically is to go back to the first question and say, how much do I need? Let's not worry about the want right now because that's kind of a hypothetical, but like let's just calculate how much we need to earn this year. And then let's calculate how many hours we're working and what we're selling. And then kind of an estimate of how many hours we need to work in order to create that much. And then we can start dividing that amount of work amongst 52 weeks in that year. And I think that's the best way to approach it, especially as a beginner, because you want a concrete way of seeing your finances, you know, and then also a concrete way of saying, what do I need to prioritize? I think a lot of people have a hard time with, let's say, getting people in the door. Well, maybe we need to prioritize either upping your content or upping your advertising or upping your skill level. So these questions are going to help you start to problem solve and try to figure out, okay, how are we going to get there? And along the way of trying to, let's say, like yourself 5 times a week, you're going to find out, okay, I'm at 3 clients a week. How do I get to 5? And why is it hard? And you're going to hit some plateaus. It's kind of like a weight loss journey. It doesn't go exactly as perfectly as you plan it, but you end up getting better and better. And you start to maybe like on different macros and maybe hit the gym more. You start to know what you need. Same thing with your business. It's kind of the same thing. And then the next thing is task priority. So many people in the industry are always busy. And I've seen this so many times, especially when you advance in the industry and you've been doing this for 8 years. You're like, holy shit, I've been behind the chair for 8 years, but I still have not gotten to my goal income. Because you're busy behind the chair. You're not prioritizing other things that could be making you income faster. You're not problem solving. You're just going to work doing the same thing because it's kind of comfortable. You're stuck in a routine. So what those questions are going to help you do is say, okay, do I need to be selling something different? Do I need to be changing my price? Do I need to be working more, less? And then it'll also show your capacity. Like, so it's impossible to sell more than 10 more than 40 hours a week. Sometimes you're like, my maximum time that I could possibly open my eyes and tattoo is about, let's push it and say 65 hours a week, fully booked. Let's push it. There's only a certain amount of you can sell. If your goal needs more than that time, then you can start to say, okay, I need to hire someone, or I need to start selling products, or I need to buy a property, lease it out, and then wait to get my money back and then have my money work for me, but it's going to take a longer time. Like, there's no way that you're going to get to your goal without asking yourself these questions. So if 2025 is going to be the year that you want to reach a certain amount, you're going to have to ask yourself those questions in the last slide and really problem solve on how to get there. And I think a lot of people, including myself sometimes, when prioritizing, is we prioritize what we feel like prioritizing, but not what's working necessarily. And you have to figure out in your business, why are people coming to you, and double down on it. Because usually in every business, there's a star product. There's a star seller, the star thing that makes you different, that everyone wants. Double down on it. Like, start doing this, and that. No, double down on what's working, because that's what's making you special, and it's so much easier to compound it and multiply it. And I think knowing the power of compounding and doing things 1% better every day, the same thing 1% better every day, that is awesome. That really does take your business farther than you've ever thought that you would. And then what I meant here by data is, when you are like those questions and doing everything that you're doing to please your customer. For example, for our online classes, we have surveys inside the class to know if our classes are actually doing what they're supposed to be doing, or if we have like low satisfaction in some areas that we can be improving to give us a better edge over, competitor classes. So you need to always be collecting data on what to improve. So for example, the other day you had an unhappy customer. I called the customer. What parts did you not like? What parts can we improve on? Like that. And then we had a group meeting about it. And I was like, okay, these are the things to improve on. So always be collecting data to help you problem solve. And you have to always be adjusting. So the thing about running a business, it's like driving a car. You're not always going to be going 60 miles an hour. Like, if you're on a highway, which a highway is kind of good economy, you have it figured out, whatever, you can press gas pedal, make your money fast. But a lot of times when you're problem solving, maybe some years you're going to go 25 miles an hour. Sometimes you need to press the brake and just stop the car and see, okay, where are we going? So, you need to get out of the car for a little bit and stretch, go on vacation. So running a business, we have such high expectations of ourselves, but just like driving and getting to your destination with anywhere, I think it's going to be impossible to go 60 miles an hour anywhere, anytime. No, in business, you're always adjusting to your market. You're always adjusting to, changing maybe customer avatar, maybe might be changing. So you got to change a little bit. Like, for example, when I was younger, all my customers were in their 20s, because I was in my 20s and we just got along. They would come to me all the time. And that was cool. But now that I'm in my 30s, I think I get more of an older clientele. So I had to adjust my work to that. So nothing will stay the same. You have to really be opening your eyes and looking around and saying, okay, what if the locations that you're in, what if the economy changed to where like your rent became too high or too low? So you have to always be paying attention to where you're going, because sometimes things can start slipping under the rug and things can start piling up maybe a little bit under the rug without you noticing. And sometimes you just need to open the hood of the car and kind of what's going on before you keep, because if your car breaks down or your business breaks down, you're not going to be going anywhere. So always be attentive and paying attention to your business. So there's that. So, okay, that you answered how much you want to make, how are you going to make it, why are you making it, what's your purpose, why you? After we answered all those questions, now we can actually start planning our 2025 calendar. Because I think before we have all those things figured out, we don't even know our priority. Because once you start to actually answer those questions in a really attentive way, then you can know what you need to be working on. a lot of times people message me and they're like, I'm not getting enough customers. Okay, let's troubleshoot that. There's nothing that just happens for no reason. There's nothing that's just happening because you're not manifesting enough. Okay, it's not happening because there's something broken in your business. Maybe your work isn't good enough. Maybe you're not working enough hours, or maybe your expenses are too high. And the thing that is so triggering is you looking for Instagram for answers. So you start looking at other businesses. And the thing is, you can't look at other businesses on social media based on whatever they're posting and comparing your business to their business, because you don't know what debt they're in. You don't know how much their rent is. You don't know their profit margin. You don't know, like, I've seen companies running, $3 million revenue losing money. It doesn't mean just because you have a company that's bringing in, dollar business, it doesn't really mean anything. So I think people need to stop going on Instagram for priorities, and they need to actually answer the questions that I had in the slide to diagnose their business. You can't diagnose your business on social media, and a lot of people do it. I'm guilty too. Sometimes I'm like, are we doing as good enough as everyone else? It's such a natural thing to do, but it's so toxic because you really don't know. So now that we answered all those questions, we need to know, are we working on our marketing? Are we working on our skill level? We have to be honest and know what we need to work on. Then we can start planning out our calendar. And the 3 things that I've used since 2000, I would say after high school. I graduated high school in 2011. I went to 1 year of business school and I dropped out. But ever since I went to high school, I've always had 3 different books. And I think those are the 3 things that I can always look back at and say, okay, those are 3 books. And I'm always walking around with a backpack. I'm 31 years old now, and I'm always wearing a backpack or a suitcase because I'm always literally carrying these 3 things along with my iPad or my laptop. And I don't go anywhere without these 3 things. And you don't have to be as obsessed as I am, but I am obsessed with following plan, right? I'm not perfect. I slip off some days, I want to say I get sick because knock on wood, I really don't get sick that often, but I slip. But on the days that, healthy and I have my vitamins and my mental health is okay, I really do try my best to check off what I need to do that day. So the 3 books I'm always carrying is my calendar, and it always looks something like this. And after you answer those questions, then you can start to plan your priorities. It's just like any other calendar you can get from Target. And this helps me organize my weeks and times. Every month, with the goals of that specific month. In business, you have 4 quarters where you can help yourself break down the year. I think it's really important to not attack the year from a consumer mindset. You have to attack the year from a business mindset, which means when Valentine comes around, you're kind of planning your promotions instead of, Valentine stuff, which sucks because sometimes it's I want to hang out with my husband and plan my Valentine stuff. But in my mind, I'm thinking about product photo shoots. I'm thinking about Valentine promotions because Valentine's coming up, right? So we have to approach it just like how Macy's or Walmart or whatever approaches the year. They are planning out every single part of the year that consumers are excited about. And that's something that you have to get in the habit of thinking about. So you have to see the events that are coming up. And last year was kind of hard because it was an election year. So it kind of kicked them off the market out of the natural flow of things. But you have to approach the year from a business standpoint and, in your priorities and all this stuff. The second book that I always carry is my content or idea book. In a day, I think all of us have so many ideas of things that we want to do for our business. Or sometimes we're scrolling and we see a piece of content that you're like, oh my God, I want to recreate that. Or sometimes you read something or hear something and it sparks something in you. And those little sparks where you feel inspired to do something, they come and go without you remembering. And if you don't catch every single spark that happens that day, and not every spark is worth an actionable, not spark is going to be actionable. Sometimes you want to recreate a video and then you're like, oh, then maybe that's not a really good idea. But let's say if one day you can catch one of those ideas and actually execute it, you're going to just do a lot more in the year. So the best way to capture those sparks is I have my apps, which is my voice app. So when something comes to my mind that I want to do it, I just run in my voice app and I record, like I talk to myself. I'm like, hey, this is what I'm thinking about. Fine to do this. And I'll just look at my voice notes like at the end of the week and I'll be like, oh, maybe I have to schedule this in. Then use my notes app. This is basically to remind me to get groceries, to remind me to get, for the shop or whatever. Like I'm using my notes app. And then I have an actual idea book, like a notebook. And that's where I am writing like for my customers. So if you're tattooing, this is where you're writing, okay, I want to start doing florals. I like this style. I like that. And then like used to put things together. And I do want to say one thing on record, that when you write something down, I don't know what it is, but there is magic to it that makes it happen faster. If you write something down physically with a pencil on a piece of paper, it makes it manifest a little bit faster, because just you writing it in this reality takes it from your brain into some sort of physical object, which is like on paper. At least it's in this world now. It's not just in your, actually is somewhat here now, even if it's just a word. So get things out of your brain, like actually materializing. Even if the material is just a word in the beginning, it has power to it. So you have to start taking yourself seriously. Like if you want 2025 to be a good year, take it seriously and write your ideas down, make them into voice notes, and have shared folders with like your members or whatever, just to share content. I always have so many saved content in my phone where it's like people I might want to collaborate with, content ideas I want to create, tattoos I really like. So just have different compartments of things that inspire you. And the last notebook I have is my diary. I like to document how I feel about things. Like there are things in life that you start and you're like, wait, this doesn't make me happy. Or there are things in life that you start and you look back and you read how you felt about it. And then you can start to say, oh, that's how that made me feel. So for example, there was a time in my life, and this isn't to like put anything on the future, but when I was doing in-person workshops, I really wanted to do it because it made sense. I'm a good teacher. I love teaching online. I'm really good at what I do. And my work is awesome. My students loved coming to see me, but I had a really hard time with the energy drainage that it took. And I've talked to other permanent makeup and tattooing instructors and like, yeah, drain you. So I read that I was documenting how drained I felt a year after I was doing my trainings. And then I decided, even though financially training made sense, I wanted to train in 2024, I decided to take a backseat in 2024 because I just realized I wasn't enjoying it enough. So I wouldn't have known that if I wasn't documenting and seeing patterns in how I felt about things. Because at the end of the day, like, yeah, are meant to provide income for us. But if some aspects in our business that make us more or less happy, I think we should be looking at what inspires us and keeps us, givers. Because you don't want to give I could be giving a really good like online, or I could be giving a really good webinar. Like I want to just give from a place where I am super happy to give. So I think documenting your emotions is really important too. And that's about it. Let's see. Actually doing the work. So here's the other thing too. Now that you answered the questions that you need and you let's plan out your month, you have to actually execute it, obviously. If you just, with planning, but you don't actually do the work, there's no good in that. And the one thing I want to say when being a business owner is, let's say that a piece of content that you posted blew up. Let's say you suddenly got an increase of 100,000 followers. You can't let that get you too emotionally up and change you from what you're doing and make you start doing something else. Or let's say for some reason you got canceled and you lost, in one day, and you lost, let's say, 30 bookings in that day. It's a defeat, yeah, but you can't let it get you off of the stuff that you already put in your calendar. Like, you can be controlled by your ups and downs. And if you've ever invested in the stock market, you know exactly what I'm talking about. On every red day, let's say you sold on every red day and bought on every green day, like, that doesn't make any sense. There's some people that buy stock and they believe in the stock, but the second something bad happens, it lets them like change the plan and sell everything, and then they lose money because they're letting the ups and downs control them, not their concrete purpose and plan, not their thought out questions that they answered and they know exactly why they're doing it. If you really believe in a company, you're going to hold on to that stock for 30 years, no matter what the market does. And that's how Warren Buffett made his money. That's how a lot of investors make their money. Like, if you purchased a building and then the commercial, like, real market went down, you're not going to like sell the building if you really believe that that building is going to be a good space for a lot of tenants. You're not just going to sell it. Same thing with your business. Don't let the ups and downs of life change your plan. Don't get too happy when someone compliments you, and don't get too sad when someone puts you down, because you already know what you need to do. What that you're planned out for the month are not going to change just because somebody left you a really bad review. No, you're still going to wake up the next day and try your best. You're not quitting. You're do it. The only way I would tell someone to quit is if in their heart they need that this isn't the right thing that they need to be doing. Like, you have to trust your intuition. If your intuition is telling you like they're tried enough things and there might be something better out there for you, then that's something that you have to think about. I don't think that there's honor in like going with the ship. You know, there's a story with, I don't know if you guys know who Roaring Kitty was. Basically, they made a movie about him called Dumb Money. Basically, he told everyone to buy GameStop stock, and it went up to 300. Everyone sold, everyone got out. But there was a group of people that were so about holding on because of what that meant to the community and stuff, that they held on and they missed out on selling when the stock hit 300, and they actually never made any money because they never sold. So sometimes you have to quit because you made your money, so you have to get out of the thing. So there's no honor in like never, even if something's failing. Like, if you made your money and you're good, like, you quit. Or even if you just want to change paths, like, and open the hood of your business, like you said, the car, you open the hood and you're like, this mathematically doesn't freaking make sense. You can decide to sell that car or that business or whatever and like move on to something else. There's no honor in being like, oh, I'm never going to quit, and then like kill doing it or like sink the ship. No. But then there's also like no one quitting too soon before you even put in your all. So you have to know those things. Those are going to be things you do intuitively. Okay. And I want to share with you, and if you're in the recording right here with me, I want you to take a screenshot. I'm a big reader. I love books. I love podcasts. So if you love books and podcasts too, I want to share with you. These books are the ones that I feel like help grow my business and help me think in the proper way. So the first book is The Slight Edge. This helps you think about incremental growth. And this book was recommended to me by one of my friends who's a marketer. His name is Nick. His company, I think they changed the name of it, but he gave this book to me, and it's nice because this book has a worksheet exercise at the end that helps you think about what you're growing in. And the summary of the book is trying to grow 1% in the things that you really care about every single day, because that's really what it takes. It's just growing 1% better every day. And then the second book, this is a cliche, it's classic. I think most people have read it. It's called Think and Grow Rich. This one is a really great book to help you put together what you want to do, your purpose. It helps you think about the law of attraction in a tangible way. The third book that I really recommend is The Richest Man in Babylon. This kind of understands the significance of small payments over time, kind of Slight Edge. I think a lot of people think getting rich is selling really expensive things over and over again. And you can get rich that way. But most people get rich, like for your credit processing companies, every single time you swipe your credit card, they get 2% of every single transaction across the world. Even if you swiped your credit card for $10 and they got 2 cents times 2 million in an hour, credit card companies make so much money off of like very, very overtime. And that's just if you spent $10. Like most of them are spending a lot more than $10. So The Richest Man in Babylon helps you understand the significance of like pennies that you're ignoring. The fourth book that I really like is The Art of the Deal. This one helps you understand that you shouldn't be overpaying for stuff. And I feel like, especially in permanent makeup and tattooing, there's so many people that try to overcharge you for leveling up. Like that's kind of like the Beauty Institute is, because I wanted something affordable that people just curious about the industry. Like back when you were curious, you had to pay like somebody $5,000 to shadow them for a day. There was no online courses. People loved gatekeeping, stuff, but people overcharged so much. And like, even now I see it. Somebody told me that they spent $27,000 on business mentorship. I'm like, what business are you running? Because when are you ever going to get the $27,000 return? Like, that doesn't make any sense. What's the return rate? Like, if you're $27,000 of business mentorship that you spent that year, I expect them to 4 times that and give you that back in return. And if they didn't, they needed to get fired or you got a bad deal. So The Art of the Deal, like kind of more of a cheap ass basically, because in the beginning of running my business, I was out on everything. And now I only hire people that are willing to give me the maximum amount of what I'm paying for. And I used to feel guilty for that. I used to be like, like permanent makeup and stuff, I still think that you should be investing in your furniture. But let's say you hire somebody and they're never coming to work and you're paying them by, let's say, hour, and you're overpaying for their hour and they're not making you the money that you hired them to make you. You need to let them go really quickly, so that The Art of the Deal helps you identify when to let things go. And it also gives you really good help about real estate if you're ever interested in something like that. Another book that I really liked is called Contagious. And we live in a world where virality and good content and human emotion dictates sometimes some businesses' success. So the book Contagious talks about marketing, and it talks about how to make an idea viral. And then I just wanted to drop the name of the author, Robert Greene. He wrote The Art of Seduction. He wrote the 48 Laws of Power, all this stuff. And not that I use any of his techniques or anything like that. I just like the way he writes about the world as if the world's a classical play. And he tells you about the characters and the tactics of people in the world. And I think it's just good to see the world in the dramatic way that he writes it. I think it's a good thing. And then the 3 podcasts that I wanted to drop, you could take a screenshot of this, is my favorite podcaster right now is David Guillaume. He has really good podcasts about how to manifest and how to grow your capacity for having more in life. And then the second podcaster that I really like is Robert Kiyosaki. He tells you about investing. He does give a lot of cryptocurrency advice, but I don't care about cryptocurrency. I made money off of it. I just don't think it's like utilized enough. I like his real estate take. And then the third, I don't care about Joe Rogan himself, but the hosts that he has sometimes, like, I've gotten good health tips and different things for the people he interviews. I like Joe Rogan, but like I like the guests he brings on sometimes bring a lot of value to my life. So those are the 3 that I'm like usually tuning if I'm not tuning into something silly or whatever. So, and the why I dropped all these books at the end of the seminar is because I know this is an hour. So obviously I'm not going to give you the answers to solve your life's problems in an hour. I'm not going to give you the answer to help you plan your $1 million year in an hour, but these books will. Like, I guarantee you, if you read every single one of these books, your brain is going to create neural pathways that are so unique to you that are going to help you solve the puzzles in your life and put you to the next level. And the only way to solve problems in your life is to have more information. That's why AI is so powerful. That's why we're all intimidated by AI, because it knows everything and it can put all this information together to solve any problem. For example, like, it's been able to solve physics problems that we were never able to solve since, like, ever. So you know more things, you can solve more things. So take a screenshot, read some books, read your own favorite books, maybe share your books with other people. Okay, so there's that. And then I think this was my last slide. So we finished this sort of helping you plan your year based on you. Notice that I didn't give you any sort of advice that's coming from anything besides your own situation. I think we all have our own situation. So I think it's really wrong if I give you advice that's not tailored exactly to you. But I do want to talk to some people that were tuned in. What is the second book you recommended? The second book I had in there was Think and Grow Rich. That one is by Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill is a really great author from the 1940s. He has a few other books too that if you're interested in Think and Grow Rich, like look into other books. You're going to really like them. They're all about the power of like, they're basically manifestation books, but they're not as woohoo or whatever. They're not as like off the chart. They're very tangible. I hope this was beneficial for you guys. I really do appreciate you guys tuning in on Instagram. I will leave this recording somewhere in the internet so that you guys can find it after. And I really appreciate you for your time. This was exactly an hour, so I'm super happy about that. All right, thank you guys so much and have a great night.